Have you ever lived in a place where the air is so polluted that every breath you take harms your health? Today, on Eagle Discovery, we're exploring 15 countries where air pollution levels are up to 15 times higher than the World Health Organization's safety limits. This silent crisis contributes to millions of deaths each year. But which country is the most dangerous for your health? Let's uncover the truth behind these toxic environments. 1. Indonesia, a nation facing severe pollution and environmental decline. Indonesia, a vast archipelago in Southeast Asia, is grappling with a serious pollution crisis that is affecting both its people and the environment. Jakarta, the country's bustling capital, has become one of the world's most polluted cities, with PM2.5 levels often reaching 37 micrograms per cubic meter, far above the World Health Organization's recommended limit. The city's once clear skies are now shrouded in smog, and the air is thick with the smells of gasoline and industrial fumes. This poor air quality is taking a heavy toll on public health, contributing to around 232,000 deaths each year from air pollution-related diseases, water contamination, and exposure to harmful chemicals like lead. The health risks, particularly respiratory and cardiovascular diseases, affect millions of Indonesians, especially those in urban areas. Hey there, where are you from? I want to know which city you're watching our video from. Please leave a comment so we don't feel lonely. A small action like this will motivate us to make more videos. Thank you and much love to you. Beyond air pollution, Indonesia is also facing rampant deforestation. Nearly 40% of the country's forests have been cleared in the last 50 years, driven by logging, palm oil plantations, and agricultural expansion. This deforestation has worsened air quality, contributed to climate change, and threatened the country's rich biodiversity. While the Indonesian government has set ambitious environmental goals, including reaching net zero carbon emissions by 2050, the challenges remain daunting. Tackling pollution and deforestation will require significant reforms, sustained efforts, and international cooperation. Whether Indonesia can reverse its environmental decline remains uncertain, but the stakes are incredibly high for its future. Two, Qatar, a wealthy nation confronting a pollution crisis. Qatar, known for its immense wealth and high standard of living, also faces a significant environmental challenge: pollution. Despite its economic prosperity, the country ranks among the most polluted in the world, with a PM2.5 index of 37.6, which poses serious health risks to its residents. This pollution is largely a result of rapid urban development, a booming construction sector, and extensive industrial and aviation activity. The 2022 FIFA World Cup highlighted Qatar's environmental struggles, as the nation saw a surge in air traffic, with Qatar Airways operating up to 60 flights daily. This contributed heavily to the country's already substantial carbon footprint. In addition, the rapid expansion of infrastructure and the reliance on fossil fuels further exacerbate the nation's pollution problem. All right! If you're new to this channel, Eagle Discovery warmly welcomes you. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and remember to turn on the notification bell to catch our upcoming content. Despite these challenges, Qatar is making strides toward a more sustainable future. The government has committed to reducing carbon emissions by 25% by 2030 and has invested in renewable energy projects, including solar power plants. Plans to expand green spaces in Doha, the country's capital, are also underway, aiming to improve air quality and provide a healthier environment for residents. However, the question remains: can Qatar successfully transition to a greener future while maintaining its rapid growth? The path ahead is filled with challenges, but Qatar's commitment to sustainability could pave the way for a cleaner, more eco-friendly future. 3. Bahrain, a small nation facing big pollution challenges. Bahrain, a small island nation with a population of just over 1.3 million, is struggling with a severe pollution problem. In 2018, the country's PM2.5 levels soared to 60 micrograms per cubic meter, 6 times higher than the World Health Organization's recommended limit. Despite some efforts to curb pollution, air quality worsened again in 2022, signaling that the issue is far from resolved. A key driver of Bahrain's pollution is its energy sector, which heavily relies on fossil fuels. The country's dependence on oil and gas, combined with industrial emissions, has significantly contributed to the rising levels of particulate matter in the air. These pollutants not only harm public health, but also threaten the country's long-term environmental stability. Bahrain is aware of the challenges it faces and has made efforts to reduce emissions, but the question remains: can this small nation balance its growing economic ambitions with the urgent need for environmental sustainability? As Bahrain continues to develop, it must find innovative solutions to reduce its carbon footprint and safeguard the health of its residents while pursuing economic growth. Four. China, a growing environmental challenge. China has made significant progress in addressing pollution over the past decade, but the battle is far from over. In 2025, the country saw a troubling rise in PM2.5 levels, reaching 32.5 micrograms per cubic meter, reflecting the ongoing environmental challenges. Rapid industrialization and urbanization, particularly in major cities like Beijing, have driven pollution levels to alarming heights. Despite efforts to curb pollution, China remains the world's largest emitter of greenhouse gases. The government has set ambitious targets to peak carbon emissions by 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality by 2060, but these goals are increasingly threatened by the approval of new coal-fired power plants. This continued reliance on coal could undermine the country's climate objectives and slow its transition to renewable energy sources. Air pollution in China is now one of the leading causes of premature death, affecting millions of people annually. Respiratory and cardiovascular diseases linked to toxic air quality are becoming more widespread, particularly in industrial areas. While China is taking steps to improve its environmental policies, the path to cleaner air and a sustainable future is fraught with challenges. How the country balances its economic growth with environmental protection will be critical in shaping its future. Five. India, a deadly struggle against air pollution. India is home to some of the world's most polluted cities, and the situation continues to worsen. In 2025, PM2.5 levels in many urban areas soared above 54 micrograms per cubic meter, nearly 11 times the World Health Organization's recommended limit. The deadly consequences of this pollution are felt across the country, with air quality being directly responsible for around 2 million premature deaths each year. This crisis is not limited to cities alone. Millions of people in rural areas also suffer from poor sanitation and inadequate infrastructure, which exacerbates the health risks. Contaminated water, open burning of waste, and reliance on solid fuels for cooking further contribute to the pollution burden. In addition to these challenges, India is planning to increase coal-fired power production, which raises concerns that air quality will continue to deteriorate. The expansion of coal energy threatens to undermine the country's efforts to combat climate change and pollution. Major cities like Delhi face severe traffic congestion, which further intensifies pollution levels and makes the air dangerously unhealthy for residents. While the government has pledged to address these environmental issues, the road to improvement is steep. Balancing economic development with the need for cleaner air will be a complex task. How India manages this deadly battle against air pollution will have a profound impact on its public health and future sustainability. Six, Pakistan, struggling with extreme pollution. Pakistan is battling some of the highest levels of air pollution in the world. In 2024, Lahore saw its PM2.5 levels soar to an alarming 73.7 micrograms per cubic meter, far above safe limits. Other major cities like Karachi and Islamabad are also grappling with dangerously high pollution levels. In 2023 alone, air pollution in Pakistan was responsible for nearly 128,000 deaths, making it a leading cause of premature mortality in the country. But air pollution is not Pakistan's only environmental challenge. Water pollution is a critical issue as well, contributing to the spread of deadly diseases such as cholera and typhoid. With inadequate sanitation systems and industrial waste contaminating water sources, millions are at risk of waterborne illnesses. The health impacts of pollution disproportionately affect women, especially those living in rural areas. Poor air quality and contaminated water can lead to complications during pregnancy, and long-term exposure to pollutants exacerbates health risks for women and children. As Pakistan continues to struggle with these severe environmental issues, urgent action is needed to reduce pollution and improve public health. Without significant changes, the country's environmental crisis will continue to harm its people and hinder its development. Seven, United Arab Emirates, UAE, a growing pollution crisis. The United Arab Emirates, UAE, known for its futuristic skyscrapers and luxury lifestyle, is grappling with a significant pollution problem. In 2025, PM2.5 levels in the country reached 43 micrograms per cubic meter, substantially higher than the World Health Organization's safe limit. The UAE's heavy reliance on fossil fuels for its energy sector is a major contributor to this pollution, as industrial emissions and transportation continue to degrade air quality. Despite the UAE's efforts to reduce carbon emissions and invest in renewable energy, such as solar power, the expansion of fossil fuel extraction raises concerns about its long-term commitment to environmental sustainability. The continued development of oil and gas resources threatens to undo progress made in cleaner energy alternatives. Women, especially those who are pregnant, face heightened risks from poor air quality in the UAE. Exposure to air pollution can lead to complications during pregnancy and long-term health problems for both mothers and their children. This adds an urgent layer to the country's pollution crisis, as public health concerns become more pressing. As the UAE continues to modernize and expand its economy, finding a balance between growth and environmental responsibility will be crucial in mitigating its pollution problem and safeguarding the health of its citizens. Eight, Egypt, an air pollution emergency. Egypt is facing an air pollution crisis that has become one of the region's most urgent environmental challenges. In 2025, the country's PM2.5 levels average 42.4 micrograms per cubic meter, significantly exceeding the safe limits set by the World Health Organization. This pollution is causing widespread health issues, with up to 2 million Egyptians seeking medical treatment each year for respiratory diseases linked to poor air quality. In 2019, air pollution was directly responsible for the premature deaths of 9,559 people. Despite these alarming statistics, the Egyptian government has taken steps to address the issue. Measures such as regulating industrial emissions and promoting the use of cleaner vehicles are part of the effort to reduce pollution. However, these initiatives have proven insufficient in curbing the scale of the problem. Adding to the pollution crisis is rapid deforestation, driven by large-scale infrastructure projects and urban expansion. The loss of trees further exacerbates air quality issues and contributes to the overall environmental degradation. As Egypt faces this air pollution emergency, more aggressive action is needed. Tackling the root causes, including industrial emissions, deforestation, and reliance on fossil fuels, is essential for improving the health of the population and securing a sustainable future for the country. 9. Iraq, toxic air and the lingering impact of war. Iraq faces one of the most severe air pollution crises in the world, with PM2.5 levels reaching an alarming 80 micrograms per cubic meter in 2025. The country's reliance on the oil industry, while a key driver of its economy, has also contributed significantly to the pollution problem. The extraction and burning of fossil fuels release large quantities of harmful pollutants into the air, further deteriorating air quality. The environmental damage in Iraq is compounded by the aftermath of years of conflict. Prolonged wars and military operations have left deep scars on the land, contaminating soil, water, and air. In addition to the toxic fumes from oil facilities, the destruction of infrastructure during the conflict has created long-term environmental hazards. While efforts such as tree planting initiatives have been undertaken to improve the environment, Iraq's pollution crisis remains dire. The government has struggled to enforce meaningful environmental protections, and progress in addressing the root causes of pollution has been slow. With the health of millions at stake, Iraq faces an urgent need for comprehensive environmental policies and greater investment in sustainability to protect its citizens and the environment. 10. Bangladesh, a nation choking on pollution. Bangladesh is grappling with some of the highest air pollution levels in the world, with PM2.5 concentrations regularly exceeding 40 micrograms per cubic meter, well beyond safe limits. Industrial emissions, vehicle exhaust, and pollution from brick kilns are major contributors to the country's air quality crisis. These pollutants not only damage the environment, but also pose severe health risks to millions of people. The consequences of this pollution are devastating. According to the World Bank, air pollution, combined with water pollution and inadequate sanitation, is responsible for shortening the lives of an estimated 272,000 Bangladeshis every year. This environmental toll is compounded by the rapid urbanization and industrial growth that have driven the country's economy forward, often at the expense of public health and environmental sustainability. While Bangladesh's economy has seen significant growth, the rising pollution levels threaten the well-being of its population. The health impacts, ranging from respiratory diseases to cardiovascular problems, are felt most acutely by vulnerable groups such as children, the elderly, and the poor. Without urgent action to address pollution, Bangladesh faces an ongoing public health crisis that will only worsen in the years to come. Nepal, Kathmandu's struggling air quality. Kathmandu, once celebrated for its natural beauty and tranquil atmosphere, is now facing a severe air pollution crisis. The city's unique geography, nestled in a valley, combined with rapid urbanization, has created a perfect storm for trapped pollutants. In 2025, PM2.5 levels in Kathmandu consistently exceed 42 micrograms per cubic meter, posing serious health risks to its residents. The pollution is largely driven by a construction boom in the city, with dust and emissions from construction sites adding to the already toxic air. Additionally, vehicle exhaust contributes heavily to the pollution, as the growing number of cars and motorbikes on Kathmandu's congested roads release large amounts of harmful particles into the atmosphere. As a result, Kathmandu's air quality has become dangerously unhealthy. with residents exposed to these pollutants daily. The health impacts are far-reaching, contributing to respiratory and cardiovascular diseases, particularly among vulnerable groups such as children and the elderly. Without immediate action to address these sources of pollution, Kathmandu's struggle with air quality is likely to worsen, threatening the well-being of its inhabitants and the city's once-praised environmental appeal. (12) Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan, environmental struggles in Central Asia. Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan, two landlocked nations in Central Asia, are facing escalating environmental challenges, particularly with air pollution. In Tajikistan, air quality has reached critical levels, with PM2.5 concentrations approaching 50 micrograms per cubic meter, well above safe limits. The country's reliance on coal for energy production and the increasing emissions from growing traffic are key contributors to the pollution. As urban areas expand and industrial activity rises, the environmental toll on public health is becoming more severe. In neighboring Kyrgyzstan, Bishkek, the capital, has emerged as one of the most polluted cities globally, with PM2.5 levels exceeding 33 micrograms per cubic meter. The heavy use of coal for heating during the harsh winters, along with the widespread burning of waste, significantly worsens air quality. These pollution sources, coupled with limited environmental regulations, make the situation even more pressing. Both countries face the dual challenge of improving public health while addressing the root causes of pollution. Without strong policy intervention and the transition to cleaner energy sources, the environmental struggles in Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan will continue to impact the health and well-being of their populations. (13) Kyrgyzstan's struggle with air pollution. Kyrgyzstan, particularly its capital city Bishkek, is grappling with one of the highest levels of air pollution in the world. In 2025, Bishkek's PM2.5 levels exceeded 33 micrograms per cubic meter, far surpassing the safe limit set by the World Health Organization, WHO. The primary cause of this severe air quality problem is the widespread reliance on coal for heating, especially during the harsh winter months. Despite repeated calls to transition to cleaner energy sources, many households continue to depend on coal as an affordable option, leading to alarming levels of air pollution. This heavy reliance on coal has not only deteriorated air quality, but also resulted in thick smog blanketing the city for much of the year. The polluted air is causing significant public health issues, with respiratory diseases becoming a major concern. Both children and adults are at risk, with hospitals in Bishkek seeing rising numbers of patients suffering from conditions like asthma and bronchitis. The air pollution is also affecting the overall quality of life, making everyday activities difficult and diminishing the city's livability. In addition to the health impacts, the environmental toll of coal use and poor air quality is lowering the overall quality of life for residents. The Kyrgyz government faces an urgent challenge in addressing these pollution issues, and finding sustainable solutions to reduce dependence on coal and improve public health will be critical for the future of the country's urban centers. (14) The Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, an environmental crisis. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, home to some of the world's most abundant natural resources, is facing a severe environmental crisis that threatens both public health and biodiversity. With PM2.5 levels regularly exceeding 40 micrograms per cubic meter, the country is grappling with widespread air pollution. A significant contributor to this pollution is the widespread use of biomass fuels for cooking, which creates dangerous levels of indoor air pollution. In addition, contamination from mining operations and agricultural practices is further degrading air and water quality. Despite the DRC's rich natural resources, including the Congo Basin's vast rainforests, the country is experiencing rapid environmental degradation. Deforestation, driven by logging and land clearance for agriculture, is accelerating the loss of biodiversity and contributing to global climate change. Water pollution from mining activities and poor waste management is affecting the health of millions, while air pollution continues to exacerbate respiratory and cardiovascular diseases across the population. The government has introduced environmental protection laws aimed at curbing pollution and preserving the country's natural heritage, but enforcement remains a significant challenge. Decades of conflict and instability have weakened the state's ability to implement effective environmental regulations. As a result, the DRC's rich biodiversity and natural resources are at risk, and urgent action is needed to reverse the damage and safeguard the environment for future generations. (15) Burkina Faso, an environmental emergency in West Africa. Burkina Faso, located in West Africa, is grappling with a growing pollution crisis that poses significant risks to both public health and the environment. In 2025, the country's PM2.5 levels reached 46.6 micrograms per cubic meter, well above safe limits, contributing to a severe air quality issue. The sources of pollution are varied, with industrial emissions, agricultural practices, and limited environmental regulations all playing a role in the crisis. The country's agricultural sector, which relies heavily on practices such as open burning of crops and the use of harmful chemicals, contributes to the deterioration of air quality. Additionally, growing industrialization and urbanization in cities like Ouagadougou have resulted in increased emissions from factories and transportation. With weak enforcement of environmental laws, these sources of pollution continue to worsen the situation. The impacts of this pollution are becoming increasingly evident. Respiratory illnesses and other health issues related to poor air quality are on the rise, straining the country's healthcare system. Furthermore, the degradation of the environment threatens the country's natural resources, including water and soil quality, which are vital for agriculture and livelihoods. To combat this environmental emergency, Burkina Faso must take urgent action to improve pollution control, strengthen regulations, and invest in sustainable development practices. Without significant intervention, the country's health and environmental challenges will only intensify. Pollution is a global crisis affecting millions of lives. From industrial growth to reliance on fossil fuels, the consequences are severe. The big question is, can these countries reverse their environmental crises before it's too late? Bold action is needed: stricter regulations, clean energy, and sustainable practices. What do you think can be done to tackle this urgent problem? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's discuss solutions for a healthier future.